Welcome, welcome, welcome to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited to be finally making this channel. My name's Lauren. Nice to virtually meet you guys. I am making this channel because I am making the channel that I so desperately wanted when I was at my worst, completely debilitated by adrenal fatigue 2 years ago, terrified, alone, not knowing where to turn, not knowing what to do, just feeling so lost. And this is the channel I searched. I searched and searched for other people sort of documenting their journey and recovery and things they've learned, and trying so desperately to find other people that were going through what I was going through, but a YouTube channel, especially a YouTube channel, because at my worst, and I don't know if this is happening to you, I'm so sorry if it is, but brain fog is real. It's a real issue with adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue. And it was so bad for me a couple years ago that reading was it was exhausting. And I already had such limited energy, I couldn't put that sort of energy into reading the massive quantities of information that I wanted and needed. And I was just, oh my gosh, I just was searching and searching. And I don't know where you are in your journey of chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue, but what I want so badly for this channel is to give you what I so desperately wanted when I was at my worst and after. The whole process. I want to provide you some support, knowledge if I can, all the things that I've learned that it's taken me years to learn. My gosh, if I could help you shorten your journey, or just let you know that you're not alone going through this process, this journey. There are so many people out there suffering with chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue. My opinion is there just aren't enough answers that align with the answers that I have found, that are the real root of my illness. All I hear are the other things, external factors that are creating this illness. And you will find from my channel that what I discovered through my thousands of failures of all the external things. I tried all the external things. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. I think I say that phrase a lot because it feels like I did. And I know if you're on this journey, I know that you have tried everything too. And that's the goal. I mean, you're trying everything to see which ones work, which ones help, which ones help get you out of this suffering. Chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue is a kind of suffering that only people who have experienced it can understand. And that's true of a lot of things, of course. The word fatigue, I think people think they know what that feels like. And there's a depth of fatigue that can't be reached in a healthy body, that can only come from this illness. I call it bone fatigue because it just feels like it's in your bones. To give you a really brief overview of my journey, I first developed chronic fatigue when I was 23. I'm 33 now, so it was 9 or 10 years ago. I was living in New York City, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was so scared, and I started searching. When I was 23 years old is when I first started going to doctors to try to figure out what this fatigue was. The first place I went was thyroid. That was fine. And the years following that, I went to so many doctors, so many specialists. I'm sure you can relate to this because this is the classic story of chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue. You go to doctor, specialist to specialist, run all these tests, say you're fine. It's all in your head. It's emotional. It's, you need a psychologist, psychiatrist, you're just an emotional female, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Or they'll say, well, there's nothing here. We'll send you to the next specialist, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I mean, how many of you has this happened to? This is the classic story. Well, during that time, I also was developing other illnesses that seemed just random, but I'm not going to list all the things, all the illnesses that came up, but it was just one after another kept showing up, and it felt like I was just putting out fires all the time. I would just recover from one thing and some random other part of my body would fail, is what it felt like. And I don't know if that kind of thing happens to everybody who has chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue, but over time what happened is my adrenals became exhausted, and I developed in 2018. I was developing adrenal fatigue for a while. I don't know how long, but I found out at the end of 2018. And by then, the adrenal fatigue was so intense that I had already started on this downward spiral that I didn't know how to stop. I was having crashes every 2 weeks. Every time I exercised, I got weaker and weaker. I was in a catabolic state. My muscles were breaking down every time because they couldn't repair. I didn't have enough mitochondria online to repair the damage. And so I kept getting worse and worse. I would have a crash every 2 weeks, and when I crashed, I was debilitated. I was bedridden. And every time I crashed, I couldn't swing back to my health state status previous to the crash. And so I was just getting worse and worse and worse. I found an adrenal fatigue specialist, Dr. Michael Lamb, who just saved me from the falling. And he helped me stabilize with breathing. And it took about 3 to 4 months to stop. I used to compare it to a runaway train or like a runaway semi truck barreling down a giant hill or mountain. And it makes sense that you'd have to apply the brakes for a really long time to get it to stop, and put a lot of pressure. And breathing became my life. I did nothing but breathe, sleep, and eat. Meanwhile, I had a 3-year-old boy who needed care and love and nourishment and play, and it was tough. And with the complexity of everyone's lives in today's world, I know any of you, all of you experiencing chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue have suffered, because it takes you out. So what if you have kids? What if you have parents that you need to take care of? What about your responsibilities? What about your job? What about money? If you can't work, I couldn't work for a few years, and I know that's really common. And so you're broke. So I moved in with my mom. I actually moved in with my mom back when my son was born 5 years ago, and thank God I was here during that downward spiral, because I literally could not work. And I know so many of you have experienced this or are experiencing it now. So 2 years ago, I was at my worst, and again, debilitated, many days bedridden, and housebound for months. And breathing saved me. It saved me. I literally rewired my nervous system through breathing. And anybody who is in a downward spiral in adrenal fatigue, that is step number 1. all you have to focus on is calming the body. With breathing, with eating, with drinking water, with sleeping, and maintaining the most calm emotional state that you possibly can, until your nervous system can recalibrate to stay in a parasympathetic state. But I will go into more detail about that in a later video. Then, in my adrenal fatigue journey, Dr. Lamb and anybody that I know of who treats adrenal fatigue wants you to start on supplements. The vitamin C's, the B vitamins, especially B5 and B12, and then look at genetic issues, SNPs and things. And I did all those things. And I was microdosing. I was trying to microdose these supplements that he had. And he recommended, and he treats the most serious cases. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's just, he was right about everything. Except supplements for me. Supplements seem to work for a lot of people, but for me, they didn't. Every single time I took a supplement, I started to get a little traction. I would put like a drop on my wrist, and I had these protocols that I would rotate days, and I would do 2 drops, and then it would be a certain length of time, 30 seconds, then 40 seconds, then 50 seconds. It took months to make any progress. And eventually, what happened again and again and again, this period over a year and a half, it became too much. It would be like usually it was when I got to my mouth, I'd put it under my tongue, and I would just let it sink in for 30 seconds or something, spit it out. And I kept hitting a wall. My body was saying no. What I realized after a year and a half, or maybe it was less than that, about a year. It was about a year. Realized the messages that I was getting from my body were, that's not the answer. You cannot do it this way. You cannot use supplements to get out of this mess. You can't. That's what my body was telling me. And it took me a long time to realize that. And it was also, combined with all the other experiences that didn't work for me too, before I started on this, adrenal fatigue supplements kind of thing. And so then I started looking at other options. I started looking at detox. I found this amazing alternative man who diagnosed me with Lyme. I had been tested for Lyme in all the tests that I had done years before, and it was specifically when I had the brain illness. I was tested for Lyme, and it came back negative. That test is like a coin toss. It's not effective, the conventional test. He found Lyme in me, Epstein-Barr. He finally, oh gosh, I was just so grateful to this man, because he finally put on black and white paper and ink, what was going on with me biologically. I finally had answers. I felt like I finally had answers. Well, then he recommends this protocol, and I'm so hopeful. I'm so excited, because I had been searching for 8 years for answers. And I say that like it's a long time, but I know there are people out there, maybe you, who have been searching much longer than that. And so I consider myself lucky, finding this man, finding these biological answers of what's going on in my body after 8 years. Oh gosh, I was so grateful. And he told me how to heal it. And he's had all this experience with the sickest of the sick. And I thought this was it. This was the answer. So I started on some of his protocols. My body couldn't take it. It could not take it. It was way too much, way too fast. I tried slowing it down. I couldn't take any of it. It was another message. You can't do it this way. You can't do it this way. You can't do it with external things. Of course, that's not, this took that sort of global conclusion took me a long time to figure out. This is looking back. I didn't see it then. But at that point, I was desperate, hopeless, and lost. In the meantime, in the meantime, the whole previous year, while I was doing the Dr. Lamb breathing techniques and trying to get up with these supplements, I had been doing massive sort of cognitive behavioral shifts with myself. And I realized the impact that I had a lot of self-loathing and deprecating thoughts. And I worked diligently at shifting those, getting rid of those self-loathing thoughts, getting rid of all the negative thoughts about myself. And yeah, for the past 2 years. And I really, I really am doing well with that now. I really, that was a massive first step to my healing. Those two, rewiring my nervous system and changing my thoughts about myself. So the other thing that I was doing in the last year was not only changing my thought patterns, but dismantling my limiting beliefs. I was so desperate. I decided I was a student of Joe Dispenza, if you know his work. And I got from him this idea that the person who is sick and the person who, the sick version of you and the healthy version of you are two different people. There's a personality that became sick. And in order to become a healthy person and get out of this illness, transform this illness, you literally need to become a different person. So that was when I started doing, that was 2019, the beginning of 2019. Also when I was at my sickest, I was learning about this because the supplements were not working and I was looking elsewhere. And so I found him and I realized I have to become a different person. Now, I didn't exactly know what that meant, how I was going to do that, but I started by transforming my thoughts and then dismantling every belief that I had about myself and the world that I possibly could think of. And so at the end of 2019, I dismantled so many beliefs. I had what was called a dark night of the soul. Spiritual and teachers, mystics talk about this, where you've had so much loss of self that all you can see is darkness. And I didn't know where to look. I didn't know who the heck I was. If I'm not all those things, then who the heck am I? I'll go more into detail about that sort of journey in another video. This is just sort of the overall timeline. And then last year, in 2020, I got a job. I was finally able to work again, which was huge. It was a tough transition, and I had a crash, a really bad crash when I first started, adrenal crash. But I was searching because yet again, I was told by my body that external things aren't healing you. This isn't the answer. So what is? Well, then it felt like divine intervention. This online summit landed in my inbox about the vagus nerve. And this summit went into trauma. They talked at length about trauma. And over this adrenal fatigue journey, I had heard a lot of things about trauma, and I just had bypassed it because I had a great childhood, like early childhood trauma specifically. And I had bypassed it. I just completely dismissed it again and again and again because I had had a great childhood. I have loving parents. I had a wonderful home environment. I didn't have any trauma. That was my belief. But this time when I heard it, and I heard the correlation, the link that it has with the vagus nerve, and the link that the vagus nerve has with chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue, something shifted in me. And all of a sudden, I was open to this idea. My mind started to expand. What if there is something there? Well, to make a long story short, that was the beginning of my recovery. In the following month, I dove deep. And I had some massive breakthroughs with these summits, learning some things that just broke some stuff wide open, and I started to heal this stuff. Now, this stuff, healing trauma takes a long time, but I started to peek in that deep, dark hole, the deep, dark hole that I had been running from my whole life. That I didn't even know was there. I didn't even know it was there. And I'm walking around thinking I had a wonderful childhood, and because I did. But that doesn't mean I didn't have trauma. Because I believe that everyone does. It's part of the human experience, is to have trauma. And then the beautiful process of healing that trauma and discovering your true self. I think that is the human condition. That is the human journey. I so strongly believe that. But that's not what's out there. This is not talked about. You've got to go sort of deep, dark. You could deep into these caverns of knowledge, and these little like niches to find that information. But this illness helped me find this. I was never, ever, ever, ever gonna look in there. It's never gonna do it. I was never gonna look at my emotional toxicity except for this illness. This illness was a gift from my soul. Put on the brakes on my life. Took my life to a halt. Saying, you're going the wrong way. You can't go on like this anymore. You have to look inside and heal the wounds and find your true self, your true voice, your true power. So the last about year, I have been on this emotional roller coaster. Absolute roller coaster. Oh my God, the ups and downs. But you know what? The month that I started healing trauma and emotional wounds was the month I started healing. The whole year and a half before that, I moved this much. And when I started healing trauma and wounds and emotional toxicity, you can't even see. I mean, the healing has been massive. The needle has moved so massively. And my wish, my goal for this channel is to help other people think about this. What if emotional answers are the root cause of your chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue? What if it is? Oh my God, you can heal. You can not only heal, but transform, because this process is so transformative. I am figuring out who I really am. I'm not this persona that I created for the first part of my life. I'm figuring out who I actually am, and my God, that has been a painful process and difficult. And that's why I want to make this video, to help other people, so that to help you, so that it's less painful. And it takes less time. There's been so much trial and error of how to do this, because I firmly believe, and I don't have the money to go to a therapist, but I firmly believe that there is an innate ability in the human condition as well, that we are able to heal these things on our own. We just have to know how to do it. And I'm just flailing around over here trying to figure it out on my own, trying to learn from other people online, or just I'm searching and I'm taking little tidbits and I'm trying to pull it all together and put it into action. And I want to help you do that, because what if it's the root cause of your illness? What if it's just a component of your illness? What if you have a chronic condition that has a giant emotional piece? What I find so often is with videos, YouTube channels and such that talk about healing this kind of stuff, it's in the past. They've already done it, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful, and I so admire them and their ability to come on and tell what they've learned. And that's what I want to do. But I also want to show the process, because I'm still in it. Yeah, I've been on it for a year, and I wish I'd started this a year ago or more, but to be perfectly honest with you, I was too scared. I was too scared of putting myself out there. And all this growth that I've made is giving me the bravery to put myself out there, because I need to. I in my core, I need to share what I have learned. If it could just help one person, it would be worth it. I've just learned, I feel like I've learned so much, and I so hope that stuff that I've learned can help you. And so that is my wish for this channel. And if you're embarking on this journey, if you've been on this chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue journey for years, or a month, it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna this channel is about emphasizing how essential it is to look inside yourself, to look for emotional causes of your illness. Because chances are they're there. They might be a cause, they might be the root cause. This might be the answer for you. What if it is? It was for me. It is for me. And figuring out how to heal that stuff that's so embedded in the body, and you have all these defenses to keep yourself from not going there, it's a hard process to learn. And so I invite you to go on this journey with me. I'm going to be documenting I'm going to be making videos of me struggling and the things that I learn along the way, and the bad times and the good times. And so a lot of the videos really only start in the middle of my journey, what I've been dealing with in the last couple of months. So the beginning of 2021. And I'm so excited to have you along this journey if you continue to follow me. And I just wish all the best for you in your healing, and I hope you find the answers, whether it's here or elsewhere. If you have chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue, my heart goes out to you, because I know the suffering. I know it so well. And I so want you to find answers. So thank you all for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you in my channel. Bye.